What's up, everybody? We're going to be ranking every MCU movie in the entire franchise. Now, I'm not going to take too long on each film because there is 30 and I don't want this video to take forever. So, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. At number 30, we have Captain Marvel. Now, this movie is in last place for me because it comes down to the main character, Captain Marvel herself, just being very, very dull to me. She's not interesting enough for me to carry her own film. I think Samuel L. Jackson is great in this, but overall, I just don't feel like Captain Marvel is a interesting enough character. At number 29, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, this is a fun movie. It's very small scale, but it just doesn't stand out among the rest of the films for me, and that's really mostly why it's at 29. It's just I never really think about it too much, and to go back and rewatch it, it's a good movie, but it just doesn't stand out enough for me. At number 28, we have Thor: Love and Thunder, and this is really unfortunate because I'm a big fan of Thor and the other movies, but this one was just too much with the comedy. It feels like a parody of a Thor film. And honestly, compared to the other Thor movies, this is just it's just not it. Just too much comedy. It cuts the tension every single time. Whenever you think there's a serious moment, bam, in comes a very poorly timed joke, and it just ruins the scene for me. And they really wasted Christian Bale in this because he did have a good performance, but they didn't show him enough, and they just put him in the goofiest movie in the entire franchise, honestly. So it's a shame, but that's where Thor: Love and Thunder stands for me. At number 27, we have Thor: The Dark World. Now, this is a movie that I actually like and I think is overhated, but it still ends up pretty low on this list just because, I just like a couple of other movies a tad bit better, but I wouldn't say this is a bad movie. Um, there's a lot going on in it. I feel like the dynamic between Thor and Loki is really, really good, and that's really what carries the film. Malekith is probably the worst villain in the franchise. I mean, he's just so boring, so bland. There's not a single unique characteristic about him, and that really holds the movie back, in my opinion. At number 26, we have Iron Man 3, and this is a movie that I know a lot of people really love, but I just feel like it's the movie that doesn't have a lot of Iron Man. I know it's mostly about Tony Stark without the suit, and to me that just doesn't work. I want to see more Iron Man in an Iron Man movie. So that's mainly the reason why I just never really go back to rewatch it, because I don't enjoy the aspect of him not really being in his suit that often. Also, the stupid twist with the Mandarin, it just doesn't work at all for me. I know it doesn't work for a lot of people, and they did kind of redeem it in Shang-Chi, but for me, that's another factor as to why this movie's so low on the list. At number 25, we have Eternals, and this is a movie that a lot of people really did not like. It's a lot different from the other MCU films. The tone is a little bit darker. They do have some big ideas in this movie, and some big messages that they try to get across. And they're introducing so many characters that it kind of just it's a little bit too much in this movie. I'm not a fan of the villains, the design of them, and just a little bit of a bland movie in a way, but at the same time I do appreciate what they were trying to do, and it does separate itself from the rest of the MCU, and I could appreciate that. So it's not a movie that I don't like. I actually did enjoy it when I watched it, but it feels like it's just missing something, and they just try to do a little bit too much. At number 24, we have Doctor Strange, and this is a movie that has such beautiful visuals, and you can really just get lost in those visuals. You can just get lost watching the movie and really just enjoy all the special effects and things like that. Kind of reminds you of Inception here and there. It's just too generic, too formulaic, and that's really why it's this low on the list. At number 23, we have Iron Man 2, and this is a movie that I know a lot of people have at the bottom of their list, but I really enjoy a lot of aspects of this movie. I really do like Whiplash in the beginning of this film. They kind of go a little bit too much, like he gets back into being a generic, armored suit or whatever. But also the scene in the third act with War Machine and Iron Man just absolutely destroying robots left and right. That's just a really good scene. I love that. I know this movie was really, really pushing the Avengers film a lot, and that does hold it back a little bit. But overall, I really enjoy it. It has a lot of replay value for me, and I think Iron Man is, at his best in this movie, as he is in most movies. So, all right, at number 22, this might be surprising to a lot of people, but I have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and the reason why I have it this low is really just because that third act, they kind of just ruined such a good thing that they had going, because Wenwu was an absolutely great villain. Him and Shang-Chi, the relationship between them, father and son, was really, really well done. All the fight scenes in this movie, by the way, are amazing. Really love it. They bring you back to those kung fu movies, and the choreography is just amazing. They do a good job with that. But I feel like at the end, with the dragons and everything, they bring it back down to a generic CGI fight in that third act. Even though we had, some great hand-to-hand combat throughout the film, it was more grounded. And then they just kind of, CGI dragons and things like that. It's definitely not a bad movie. Like, it probably should be higher. I do enjoy it, but it's just there's other movies in this franchise that I just enjoy watching a little more. This is a personal list, so if I had to be unbiased, it definitely would be a lot higher. But in terms of replay value for me personally, this ends up at number 22. At number 21, we have the Incredible Hulk, and this is the Hulk that we all miss, honestly, because this is Hulk in full savage mode throughout this movie. Badass fight scenes, just mean Hulk. Nowadays, we got the intelligent Hulk, and they really just nerfed the hell out of him, and it's a shame. But you go back and watch this movie, it brings back the savage Hulk and the good memories that we once had a badass Hulk. It's really well done. It's just it really feels out of place, from the rest of the MCU, which could be a good thing for most people. For me, it kind of hurts it a little bit, but overall a good movie, and it just ended up being here because there's other movies on the list that I really like a little bit more. At number 20, we have Ant-Man, and I really like this movie because it's basically a superhero heist film, and I really enjoy heist movies and things like that. So to incorporate that into this movie, I really enjoyed that. Ant-Man, he's just great. Paul Rudd does an amazing job with the character. Michael Douglas, teaching Ant-Man how to get the job done, and teaching him about his suit and things like that. Just a really good movie. Simple, small scale, but it really does a good job. At number 19, probably surprising for a lot of people, but I have Black Widow. I really do enjoy this movie. I love the spy aspect of it. I think it's a really good spy film. Natasha and Yelena, their relationship is amazing in this. I love their interactions. They have really good chemistry in this movie. The parents, it's just a really good family oriented spy movie. They did drop the ball with Taskmaster. I don't know how they do that to that character and just really mess it up that badly. And also that third act, it just gets a little bit too over the top because this movie was really fun and grounded in certain aspects, and then that third act, they just bring it back to just an over the top, big scale, explosions and flying through the air, things like that. So that really hurts it, but overall I really do enjoy the movie for what it is. At number 18, we have Spider-Man Homecoming. And this is a movie that just for some reason, whenever I watch it, it just doesn't hit me the same way that it hits everybody else. Like, people really, really go crazy over this film. And while I do enjoy it, it just never really resonated with me the same way as other people. It just doesn't click. It's still a really good movie. Vulture's amazing. Really, really good job by Michael Keaton. And I really do like the twist when they find out that he's the father of Peter's homecoming date. That's really, that was really intense. I like that. So, yeah, just something about it, though, just doesn't connect with me. At number 17, we have Black Panther. Yes, Black Panther 1, the first one, is at number 17 for me. And it all really comes down to that last scene for me. It really was just it just looked too bad. It looked like a video game. I just can't deal with it. Every time I watch it, it's hard to watch, honestly. It's just really poorly done with the special effects. Killmonger's amazing in this. T'Challa's amazing in this. Chadwick Boseman did an amazing job with the character. But I feel like the fight scenes as well, like overall just the action scenes were subpar, especially for a Black Panther film where, he's known for his amazing hand-to-hand combat. I just feel like they did a better job in Civil War handling Black Panther's fight scenes. And also I liked his costume a lot better in Civil War. But overall, this is a really good movie. Just other movies on the list that I like more. Alright, so at number 16, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. And yes, I do like this movie more than Homecoming. Probably an unpopular opinion. But I really do love the aspect of, the visuals we get from the fights with Mysterio. That's really interesting. I like it. It's creative, so that's a big part of it. Spider-Man's badass in this. I feel like his fight scenes are a little bit better in this one, especially at the end when he's fighting all the drones and he's taking them out. I mean, that's just such an epic scene. I know the plot's a little weak and kind of stupid with the whole Tony Stark giving him the glasses and things like that, but overall, I just really enjoy this movie. I think it's more of a fun time. We get more MJ in this as well. She's a really cool character. So overall, I just like this one a lot better than Homecoming. At number 15, we have Thor, the first Thor movie. And this is just like, when I watch this nowadays, I really miss this Thor because they turned him into a goofball, honestly. And it hurts to say because he's one of my, probably like my top 3 favorite characters. Watching this, it makes me appreciate this a lot more now. So I like this movie more now because of Love and Thunder, because of the way they treated him in that movie. I just love the seriousness, the heroicness of him, the just the badass vibes that he gives off in this movie. And I know when it first came out, for a while people were like, "Oh, Thor's boring. He doesn't have enough personality. He's too arrogant or whatever." But phew, I bet you a lot of people are missing that version of Thor now because now he's just a laughing stock, honestly. At number 14, we have Avengers: Age of Ultron, and this is the worst Avengers movie in the franchise, but it's still very fun to watch. I love the dynamic between all the characters. I feel like, the jokes are hitting in this one. I do feel disappointed by Ultron a little bit because he just seemed like he was going to be a little bit more badass, and then he ended up kind of being like a whiny villain here and there, so it kind of threw me off a little bit because the trailers advertised him a little bit differently. But overall, it's still a really fun movie. I like the introduction of, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, even though we don't, he's not in it for too long. Just a really fun movie. I like the aspect of Hawkeye kind of being this mentor to Scarlet Witch a little bit and giving her that speech. And they really did focus on Hawkeye a lot more in this, and I appreciate that. Oh yeah, also as well, I gotta say the introduction of Vision is really great. Love that character. So this movie does do a lot of good things. It's just, it's the weakest link out of all the Avengers movies. At number 13, we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, I really enjoyed this movie overall. I feel like they dropped the ball a little bit with the whole multiverse aspect in terms of how creative they were. I feel like they could have been a lot more creative. I just feel like they could have taken it to another level. I really like the horror aspect in this movie. Overall, Scarlet Witch, I really enjoyed her character. She's pretty intimidating in this one. And America Chavez is a great addition. I think she does really well. As a child in these movies, sometimes they can get a little over the top and annoying, but I think she's really well done in this. The Illuminati is really cool. I just feel like they don't really last long enough, and the way they get killed off is a little bit, it's too quick, and it kind of like brushed them off a little bit, but they really wanted to use that to display how powerful Wanda is, so I can understand it. Yeah, overall, I really like this movie, and that's why it's at 13. And at number 12, we have the brand new Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and I really enjoy this movie a lot. Like, this movie surprised me because they were dealt a really tough hand. As you know, Chadwick Boseman passed away. The script was already written, and then they had to go back and rewrite the script. So just a really tough circumstances that they were able to overcome. They really explored how these characters are dealing with the loss of T'Challa in their own ways. And they just do a good job of relaying that emotion. And it's really relatable because we were all devastated when Chadwick Boseman passed away as well. I think Namor is amazing in this. I wish they would have explored his background a little bit more. But overall, I think it was just an amazing job. So now, the Black Panther franchise has 2 really, really well done antagonists. So, just great job overall. At number 11, we have Captain America: The First Avenger. This is a movie I really love as the origin story of Captain America. They do a good job in the first, probably I would say the first hour is like perfect, and then it kind of dips down a little bit toward that third, toward the end of the movie. But yeah, I just really love Steve Rogers before he has the serum. He's just a really noble guy. Like, he just wants to do what's right and fight for his country because he feels like that's just a necessary thing to do. And I really, love the aspect of how they show, this This guy who's so skinny, so small, doesn't really look capable. They show that he was already a hero and he was already this brave guy before he ever had the serum and before he ever had these, the superhuman strength and abilities. The relationship between Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes is amazing. Their chemistry is awesome. And also the relationship between Steve and Peggy, really good. They probably have the best chemistry out of any couple in the MCU, honestly. So really love this movie. Always go back and rewatch it every now and then. And at number 10 we have Guardians of the Galaxy. And yes, it is the first one. So you guys already know it's probably really controversial, but yes, I have Guardians of the Galaxy 1 ranked lower than 2. Now, where 2 is, you'll find out soon. But yeah, number 10. So this movie, I have nothing bad to say about it, honestly. It's just the rest of the movies ahead of it I like more. This movie is such a fun ride. I remember me and my friends were thinking about what movie we should see, and we just randomly came across this movie, and we're like, this might be fun. We went to the theaters, and it's one of the best, most fun adventures that we've been on in the theaters. It's just such a funny movie, really good chemistry between all the characters, the way that they come together at the end of the movie. Probably one thing that holds this movie back for me, though, is the villain, Ronan the Accuser. I just feel like he's another one of those generic, shallow villains that doesn't have much depth to him, doesn't have much personality. So I feel like that's probably one of the few things you can say bad about this movie. Other than that, great film. And at number 9, we have Iron Man, the one that started the MCU. Such a freaking great film. One of the best origin superhero movies ever, period. The way that they handle Tony's progression throughout the film. Robert Downey Jr. is just perfect as Iron Man. There can be no one ever that ever does Iron Man better than Robert Downey Jr. He was born to play that role, and man, just so iconic. When you go back and rewatch this movie to think about what it started, it makes the movie that much better. The villain in this is very underrated as well. He does a really good job, Ironmonger, and just everything's perfect. Everything's perfect in this movie. I really don't have much complaint about it. At number 8, we have Thor Ragnarok, and this is a movie that balanced the comedy with the seriousness really well. A lot better than Love and Thunder. Taika Waititi was at his best for this one. There are still a few moments in the film where there's a joke that's just thrown in there and it really shouldn't be, and it kind of just, takes the seriousness away from the scene. But overall, the balance is really good. Thor is at his best here. The comedic timing of Chris Hemsworth is phenomenal. I think Hela is one of the more underrated villains in the entire MCU. She does a really good job. You really get to see the scale of her power the second that she comes on screen, because she destroys Thor's hammer immediately. That's like the first major thing she does. They don't handle the Warriors 3 well at all, in my opinion. They just completely brush them to the side. Like, okay, you're gonna die real quick, no one's gonna care, blah 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 blah. Like, I don't think they should have handled it like that at all. They kind of disrespected the characters. I feel like it definitely could have been a little bit more emotional, like when Thor has to destroy Asgard. It doesn't really show off like any sad feelings about it, like enough. Like it just doesn't seem like it was devastating enough, the impact of losing the world that you lived in. They could have handled the death of Odin a little bit better. We don't really get enough time to sit with it and kind of mourn the character. Hela just kind of pops up out of nowhere right after he passes away. But overall, really good movie. Such a fun time too. Taika Waititi really did a good job of adding more vibrance to the Thor franchise, with the colors, the visuals, and Thor's personality. So, really good job. All right, at number 7, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And I know everybody's going to be flaming me in the comments. Like, how do you have this movie so high? How do you have it above the first one? But this is just a movie that I really love watching. The replay value for me is it's just so high. Like, I just keep watching it, over and over. It's just so fun. Anytime it's on TV, that's it. I'm watching it. It's just such a fun movie. I love the comedy in this. The back and forth banter between the characters. Yondu is amazing in this movie. I really love, the sacrifice he makes. It's so emotional. It really hits. Rocket Raccoon is badass in this movie. The scene where he takes out the Ravagers just really shows off his intelligence and his tactical, skills. So that's really cool. Drax is hilarious in this. Just love this movie. I do think Ego's a much better villain than Ronan as well. A lot of people don't like the twist at the end, but I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. The fight scenes are really good in this. The third act battle, like I said, the sacrifice Yandu makes, it just really does a great job of closing out the movie, and just that emotional weight, you really feel it in a movie that otherwise is more so light. And now I know this movie is a lot darker than the first one, and that's probably why a lot of people don't like it as much, but I appreciate that they went with more serious aspects in this movie to balance out the hilarious parts as well. So yeah, I just really love this movie. Call me crazy that it's at number 7, but that's where it is. All right, at number 6, we have The Avengers, and this is the movie that took the world by storm. You take all these major superheroes from their own solo movies that we've seen up until this point, and then you put them all in this movie together, creating this huge universe, watching all the superheroes interact, just, the amazing action scenes where every hero gets to shine, and then also you get to see them team up. Loki is an amazing villain in this, one of the greatest villains we've ever had in the MCU. I think he was just a perfect selection for, the first major Avengers level threat. The way that they built it up from the first Thor movie, the interactions between the superheroes, like when Iron Man and Captain America are going at it and having their little argument, it's just really entertaining to watch how all these different personalities come together. Hulk is amazing in this movie. I love the way they handled him. Probably the best version of the Hulk that we've gotten in the MCU, in my opinion. I can't believe that they just dropped the ball on him, the way that they have. But yeah, this Hulk right here, love him. So this movie, it just did so much for this franchise, and that's why it's so high on the list. All right, at number 5, we have Spider-Man No Way Home, and man, this movie was freaking insane. Like, the nostalgia levels in this movie, insane. A lot of people will say that that's what carried the film, but I just think overall it's a really good movie. We get to see all 3 Spider-Mans together in one film. I mean, honestly, that's all I really have to say, as for why this movie's so amazing. Like, they just did it so perfectly. The Green Goblin established himself yet again as one of the, if not the best villain in the entire MCU or in the entire Marvel, movie universe overall. Now, the only negative I have to say about this is the way that the plot kind of played out with Doctor Strange and, Spider-Man just doing some stupid crap, and then bam, just absolute chaos. I think it was a little bit lazy with the writing, but overall, man, what a fun time to bring these 3 different, generations of Spider-Man together. Doing that, just, oof, man. It just gave me chills. That's all I can really say. Another thing, too, is when you watch this movie, it really does make the first 2 movies come together, and it shows you, like, wow, this was like one long origin story. All 3 of these films coming together to make one big origin story for Spider-Man. Yeah, overall, just really love this movie, and yeah, my mind was blown when I watched it, so that's number 5. All right, at number 4, we have Captain America Civil War. And this is a movie that works really well as a Captain America movie and an Avengers movie. And I just love the way that they handle the conflict with the Sokovia Accords, the 2 different point of views from Iron Man and Captain America. They handle it so well, and they really make you believe why, both of them feel the way they feel about the situation. We also get the introduction of Black Panther in this movie, which I think overall is the best version of Black Panther. I think he's just so badass in this. His fight scenes are handled really well. I like his costume the best in this as well. Of course, we also get the introduction of Spider-Man, which is freaking, I think Tom Holland has done an amazing job, and I think he's really good in this movie. We get to see him fight Captain America. That's probably like my favorite part of the film. The airport scene, just overall, all the superheroes coming together and fighting each other. We never seen anything like that before, up to that point. Zemo is one of the most underrated villains. I think he just does an amazing job. He's just this human that's able to use his wits and just manipulate everything in the movie, and it really works out perfectly. His plan, his plan was to have the Avengers fight each other and destroy themselves from within, and it's exactly what happened. So, one of the most successful villains, and just a really good villain overall. Love the way that they handled him. And in this movie, the story still continues between Captain America and Winter Soldier and their relationship, as Cap is trying to help Bucky get back to his normal self, because Cap realizes that he's been brainwashed and none of it was really his fault. The stakes are really high in this, I feel like, because Iron Man finds out that Bucky ended up killing his parents, and the tension in the freaking room as Iron Man finds out, and Captain America has to admit that he knew all along, and then their fight breaks out. You just really feel it, feel the seriousness of it. They handled it perfectly. So really love this movie. That's why it's number 4. All right, at number 3 we have Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I absolutely love this movie. It's like a spy thriller superhero movie. I just love it. I love the tone of it. It's a more mature, serious movie. We get Captain America discovering that the Winter Soldier, this assassin, is his best friend Bucky Barnes, and realizing that he's been alive this whole time. You really feel the weight of the situation in this movie when Captain America finds out that his best friend Bucky is this assassin that's been brainwashed, and it's not really him in there, but he's still doing all these terrible things, and Captain America's trying to get through to him. The action in this movie is done so well in this. The hand-to-hand combat, the fight choreography, everything. Captain America is at his absolute best in this. The elevator scene, what else can you say about that? That's one of the sickest scenes in the entire franchise. I love the aspect of, them uncovering that Hydra has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and, Nick Fury is involved, and he has to kind of fake his death so that they can stop trying to attempt to kill him. It's just such a sick movie. Kind of gives you like that Bourne Identity type of feel, like like along the lines of those movies. And those are typically like my favorite type of movies, the more grounded action movies where it's like hand-to-hand combat and shootouts and things like that. Like those are my favorite types of films, and this falls like perfectly into that category, along with the superhero aspect and along with my favorite, character, Captain America. So it just like everything just checks off the list for me with this movie. Absolutely love it. All right, at number 2 we have Avengers: Infinity War, and this is the movie that honestly is a Thanos film, in my opinion. I just feel like they do such an amazing job developing Thanos, really showing us his motivation as to why he's doing what he does, and almost makes you sympathize with him a little bit, not too much, but it's really cool seeing like his relationship with Gamora and how much he actually loves her, and how much he actually wants to, in his own way, save the universe. So it's just amazing villain development. You don't really always get a villain that's fleshed out this much. So they do a good job of taking this movie and making it more of his movie in a way, but also we get such an amazing dynamic with all the other, with all the superheroes. Everybody shows up with their own, amazing like entrances in this movie. We get the Thor Wakanda entrance, which is the greatest superhero entrance ever. I don't care what anyone says. That crap gave me chills. We get Captain America showing up when he catches the spear and he saves Wanda and Vision. And then we get the Iron Man versus Thanos fight on Titan. That's freaking one of the greatest fight scenes ever. Thanos versus Doctor Strange, another one that's one of the greatest fight scenes ever. So it's like just so much going on. Everybody, we got 2 different groups of superheroes in 2 different locations, and it's going back and forth. You show one team fighting Thanos, another team fighting his army. I just love this movie so much. It's just like, it's fast paced, but it also just does a really good job of, developing the main villain and setting up the next film. And then of course at the end, Thanos wins, and a lot of people get snapped away, and it's really sad. That crap hit me like crazy in theaters. I was feeling it. I was in my feelings. And yeah, Thanos won. It's just something you don't see often. So just this movie just does so many things really well. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of things too that I want to say, but it's just like there's not much like that needs to be said, All right, and at number 1 we have Avengers: Endgame. And like I said, between Endgame and Infinity War, it's so close for me that honestly you could just say 1A, 1B or whatever, but at number 1 I'm going to have Endgame because it closed everything out. We have the amazing sacrifices from Black Widow and Iron Man that just hold so much emotional weight. When Captain America goes and decides to spend his time with Peggy, that means so much to us because it means so much to Captain America, and we've been on the journey with all these heroes for so long. So just to see it all come to an end, it just really hits you. That final battle is absolutely amazing. I get nothing but chills every time I watch it. It wasn't just the first time I got chills. Every time I see it, I get chills. It's one of the best action scenes ever. The scene where Captain America gets Thor's hammer and takes it to Thanos, that's so freaking badass. And then also, when it's just Captain America and Thanos is standing there with his army and Cap just straps up his shield and he's ready to walk forward and, fight till death. That always just gets me so hyped. And then the portal scene, obviously, just amazing. The fan service they do in this movie, they do it so well. It's not cheap or anything like that. It's just perfectly done. I love the time travel aspect in this movie. It's just so well done, going on this adventure with these heroes as they're trying to get all of the Infinity Stones and bring everyone back. That's just such a fun but also scary adventure because you're trying to figure out like what's gonna go wrong here. How are they gonna mess this up? Because it can't just go perfectly. So just a really good movie. Love it. And yeah, Avengers Endgame, best movie in the entire MCU in my opinion. And that's my ranking, guys. So let me know what your ranking is in the comment section below. And thanks for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Later.